let me go to the next thing. All right, so last week we talked about gyroscopes, and I had actually mirrored a gyroscope video done by John Savage, where he addressed the issue of whether or not the gyroscopes that we have are capable of detecting the 15 degree per hour motion or rotation of the Earth. He contacted the manufacturer, and the manufacturer said no, but then of course the manufacturer also admitted that they had never even tried to do that, but it was his opinion that it couldn't be done. So John didn't really want to accept that, so he wanted to put it to the test. So what he did essentially is he took the gyro, the entire mechanism, and he put it on top of a 24-hour clock mechanism, which of course would show the rotation as 15 degrees per hour, okay? And which is a very, very slow moving thing. And of course the detractors have been, no, that the gimbals are too restricted, you can't do that, it'll never show up anything, yada, 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 yada. Well, it turns out that the gyroscope not only did detect that movement, but it did it accurately, which was amazing. And of course the detractors like Slice Barcane came back and said, oh no, it's the cord caused this to happen. And Slice Barcane even went as far as to say that what he was actually picking up was the movement of the Earth, which is beyond ridiculous. He also had some other criticisms, saying that, you know, when John was talking about the bearing that it was mounted into, John doesn't apparently understand what a bearing is. He thinks that the only kind of bearings there are, you know, ball bearings, but, you know, there's journal bearings, which is in fact what this is. On the bottom of this thing is called a journal bearing. And I have lots of pictures of it and stuff like that, but we won't spend too much time, you know, talking about Slice Barcane. He did make a crack at us saying that, oh yeah, Globebusters immediately mirrored it, and I did, because I thought it was fantastic. But, you know, he says my reason for doing that was for monetary reasons, like we were going to make money, or, you know, tons of money off of it. The guy's just an idiot, I'm telling you, but whatever. So anyway, so one of the things that you know, this test, you know, you can see the cord on this, and we did see the precession, we did see the apparent drift, okay, which was great because the clock mechanism was underneath it. So then, and we won't go to that one, let's go up to the next one. Sorry guys, a little disorganized here. Which one is it? So many tabs. Okay, so after the criticism, basically, you know, about the wire and everything and too much weight on the gimbals, yada, 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 John redid the experiment, and lo and behold, as expected, we did not see any apparent drift. Now he didn't do the experiment that showed the movement with the clock underneath it, but he redid the entire gyro experiment. But this time, instead of having a counterweight and the wire hanging off the side, what he did is he used the battery pack itself as the counterweight with the motor on the other side, and got it perfectly balanced out, and then redid the test. Okay, all fine and dandy, that's cool. And by the way, by doing it this way, by eliminating the counterweight, he was able to reduce the weight of the gyro on the gimbals by a full 25 grams, okay, which is almost a full ounce. That makes a big, big difference, which theoretically would have made it even more sensitive, because you would have less load then on the gimbals and the, you know, the journal bearing, if you will, down there. So he redoes this test just like Rob Durham has done and everything, and he runs it for a full hour, and it's running for a full hour. And as you can see, if I do this whole thing, and the whole video is available, not one iota of drift or precession is recorded. And yet we know full well that the gyro is capable of it, no matter what the manufacturer or anybody else says, because he put that to the test. All right. So lo and behold, he redoes it, even with lighter weight on the gimbals, and absolutely zero drift whatsoever. Now, this is just to show you guys what kind of idiotic debunkers we're dealing with. The first thing that Slice Barcane comes back with is sorry, but now you have more weight and thereby more friction on the gimbal, which of course is complete nonsense, ignoring completely that John very clearly stated that it's 25 grams lighter, you know. So this is the kind of BS that the trolls will come up with, because, you know, somebody doesn't watch or listen to the whole thing, like obviously Sly did not. They're going to read this and go, oh, yep, sure enough, if they're already biased towards it, this guy must be right, because he says there's more weight and more friction, which is complete nonsense, when in fact the total opposite is true. And I can go into several more mistakes that Mr. Sparkane has made, but since we're running short of time, I'm not really going to do that. But I did want to bring this.
Let's be honest, though, that globe believers don't make mistakes. So just, you know.
This
Yeah.
is true. This is very true.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Exactly. And, you know, the whole thing, you know, he had insinuations that basically this was done dishonestly and wrongly. And, you know, he makes so many wrong assumptions. Like I said, you know, he talks about, oh, well, you don't, that's not a bearing. He actually criticizes John for using the word bearing, when obviously this guy is so uneducated, he thinks that ball bearings are the only kind that there are. But of course, there are many types of bearings, and this one being a journal bearing. And if you guys don't know what that is, here's a journal bearing. Gee, doesn't that look exactly like what is on the gyroscope? But, you know, Mr. Sparkane just obviously doesn't get that, so whatever. And, you know, to accuse John or to insinuate that he's doing it dishonestly is just completely over the top, in my opinion. So I wanted to bring that up, and I won't go too much more in detail. I'll put all the links to all of the tests that not only he has done, but Rob Durham has done as well. And I will also even try and put a little bit of note of what the ball earthers do think is a good experiment, which is crazy. They think that this is a good experiment done by this garbage gamer who claims that the gyro compass is showing the effect of Earth rotation, which is complete and utter nonsense, because what he's highlighting in this is essentially what Rob Durham was highlighting when he found that when you suspend the gyro freely, it will oscillate back and forth. Well, this guy did essentially the same thing except in water, and he even shows it oscillating back and forth wildly, but yet he doesn't change the title of his video saying gyro compass showing the effect of Earth rotation. It shows no such thing. This is a complete lie, and yet the very same guys, like, you know, this guy right here, Mr. Fudmutton, thinks that, you know, this is a really good experiment. And by the way, when John was addressing this, the reason I even got this link in the first place is because this is what the trolls were talking about as their idea of a good experiment. And this is the most ridiculous, insane, retarded experiment I have ever seen in my life. And there's nothing accurate about this at all. And even the guy, he shows it just oscillating back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. It doesn't show anything. And yet the title of it is the gyro compass showing the effect of the Earth's rotation. Horse hockey. It's not showing anything of the kind. And I will put these links in, and you guys can go in and make the appropriate comments and use your own discernment. Look at it and see if you don't think the same thing. So that's what I wanted to say about that. And I'm sorry it's abbreviated, but, you know, we are coming up on 3 hours, and I want to whip through this last part really fast. And this is a little bit technical.